Well, I don't know what you know about the history of the entire world, the history of everything that's ever happened, but let me just summarize it for you in 3 words. It goes like this: creation, fall, and redemption. Now, that's the storyline of the Bible. Creation, God made it. He made everything. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That's the very first sentence of the Bible. Now, I don't want to get into arguments about how He created it. We hold that kind of open-handed here. You can believe He made it in 7 literal 24-hour periods about 5,000 years ago. You can believe that it all happened in a big bang and then began evolving over millions of years. I'm not going to get into the mechanics of how creation happened. The point is, God created it. That's the first movement in history. God made everything, creation. Everything is endued with purpose, with meaning by God. He created it good. Okay, creation, fall. We messed it up by disobeying the one commandment that God gave us, really choosing to live life according to our own wisdom, using our own wisdom to direct the affairs of our life. That's what we call sin, big theological word that means we did what we should not have done. It's a word not many people like, and we use it here because it's in the Bible, and it's an accurate description of the condition of humanity, sin. So we disobeyed God. When we did that, that is what's called the fall. From the fall, that overflowed into all the creation. So it's not just that we are fallen. Now the whole world that we live in, the natural world itself, is subject to futility. That's Romans chapter 8. The whole world is subject to futility. It doesn't work like God made it to work. God made that to happen so that we could feel, we could experience the fact that we are separated from Him. Creation and fall. And then the last movement in history is the story of redemption. It really began right after the fall. God came and He promised. He said, one day the seed of a woman is going to crush the head of the serpent. That is the one who deceived the man and the woman. This was a depiction of one day God is going to destroy evil, and He began working that plan out in human history. It went through a guy named Abraham, passed to his son Isaac, to Jacob. Jacob got his name changed to Israel. There was a nation, Israel, that was supposed to be God's redemptive plan for the world. They did not obey God, just like all other humans. And finally, God Himself came into the story, came and lived the life that we have not lived, died for us on the cross, rose and conquered the grave. Jesus conquered the grave, as we sang, and He is now reigning in heaven, is going to one day return and wrap this all up, and then what's He going to do? He's going to wad this world up and throw it away, and we're going to go float on clouds, right? No. Jesus is going to come back, and He is going to cleanse this world from all effects of the fall, from all the brokenness, and He is going to raise our dead, rotting, maybe completely decayed bodies from the grave, and we, as redeemed people, reconciled to God, are going to live in a new heavens and a new earth. That's how the story ends, which is, we talked about, as a completely redeemed creation. That's the story of redemption. Creation, fall, and redemption. So even though we have all kinds of histories and sub-histories going on, the whole movement of all of humanity is creation, fall, and redemption. And we talked about, we took 19 weeks to unpack that. So if you're new here, you avoided 19 weeks of headache, and you got it all right there in about 5 minutes. Yeah, 5 minutes and 45 seconds. You got it. See? Now, what we've been talking about since then is that because God is redeeming the whole world, everything in the creation, we can now experience His redemption if we're reconciled to God through Jesus. It's a big if, but if you're reconciled to God through Jesus, you can experience His redemption in all facets of life, and it overflows into all facets of the creation. And so Jesus is Lord not just of my heart, not just of my life, though he is. He's Lord of heaven and earth and everything in the world. He reigns over everything, and He wants to redeem everything. That means the gospel also this called the story of redemption, the gospel, applies to all facets of creaturely existence. It's not just a spirituality. So we don't really use that term spirituality here. We're not really into spirituality because a spirituality is something that I do because I'm stressed out with life, so I go and I get some help so I can kind of cope with the pressure of life. And God knows I need that. But Christianity is much more than a spirituality. It is a worldview that encompasses all of creation and claims to be true for everybody, like the law of gravity. So you guys know how gravity works, right? See, if I jump off of here, there it goes, it works. See, I'm going to fall off that. Some of you didn't realize I was so short. You're glad we have this little platform. Someone told me the other day, they're like, I did not realize how short you are. Yes, I'm a tiny little man. That's why we have these risers. Okay, gravity has not been kind to me. I am oppressed by gravity. Gravity is oppressing me. Okay. But gravity is a law, and you can choose to acknowledge it. You can choose to admit that it is true, and if you do, life will go much better for you. Or you can try to say gravity does not exist, and that's fine. That's your right. You can do that. But if you jump off a stage, or worse yet, you jump out of a window, you're going to hit the ground because it's true for you just like it's true for everyone. That's what Jesus claims. He claims to be Lord of heaven and earth and all people. And so your life is going to either reflect the fact that you acknowledge that or you try to fight against it. And so in this series that we're going to do for the next few weeks, we are looking at how every aspect of created existence needs to be brought under the lordship of Jesus and can be redeemed. So we're taking aspects of existence and putting them through the lens of creation, asking, how did God make this to work? How did He originally intend for this to work? Fall. When we fell, how did that screw this up? How is this broken? Redemption. If we're restored to God and begin to live under His good authority, how does that begin to reflect itself in this particular aspect of life? Last week we looked at work, which is something that we're all going to have to do eventually. I hate to break it to you. Some of you are fighting it. But we're going to all have to work eventually. God made us to work. So last week we looked at work. Now today we're going to look at one that is probably one of people's least favorite topics to talk about. So if you're new, you came on a great Sunday. I mean, if you don't leave offended today, I can never offend you anymore. So we're going to talk about something that is most people's least favorite topics to talk about, especially in church. We get really nervous. The Bible calls it a root issue, meaning that it is kind of at the core of a lot of what's going on in our lives. Sometimes we don't even recognize it, but it is at the core of a lot of what we're feeling, a lot of what we're thinking, a lot of what we're pursuing. It's at the core. It's a root issue. It, of course, is the issue of money. Oh, no, I came on the money Sunday. Yes, you came on the money Sunday. It's the issue of money, and we all know that money is not just for its own sake. I mean, no one has money just because they like having money. But money is always a means to something else, right? It's a means to something else. So if you gave me a stack of $100 bills, I would not go home and mount them on my walls because I like to look at them. I would immediately begin thinking, what can I turn these $100 bills into? What can I trade them in for? What do I want? What do I need? What can I do with these? Money is a means to something else. And whatever you think money is a means to, that is your theology of money. That's your view of it. So you might ask yourself, what do I think money is for? It's not for decoration. It's not for wallpaper. What do I think money is for? What do I think it's for? Now, let's just jump in and put this through the lens of creation and fall and redemption. So, like I told you, we're eventually going to wind up in Luke chapter 12 and 16. But first, I want to take you all the way back to the beginning of the story and I want to show you where money was created. So I'm just going to start reading in Genesis chapter 1. Okay, it goes like this. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void. Darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness He called night. And there was evening, and there was morning the first day. Okay, did you see money? That was the first day of creation. Did you see any money there? I didn't see any money there. Okay, let's keep going. God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." And God made the expanse and separated the waters that were under the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse, and it was so. And God called the expanse heaven, and there was evening, there was morning the second day. Did you see any money in that second day? Okay, I didn't see any. Let's go to the third day. God said, "Let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the waters that were gathered together He called seas. And God saw that it was good. And did you see any money there? Now, I could keep going with this, but I'm just going to cut to the chase really quickly. We could go through all 6 of these days of creation, and we're not going to find money. We're not going to find it. Evidently, God didn't make it. So where did it come from? Look with me in chapter 1, verse 26. God said, "Let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created man in His own image. In the image of God He created him. Male and female He created them. And God blessed them. And God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." Now, this particular 3 little verses here is what is commonly referred to as the cultural mandate. We talked about this last week. God told us to make culture. He told us to take the world and to organize it and to harness it and to harvest it and to cultivate it. And so He said, "Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth," that's with other people, "and subdue it." So right here we're told to harness the social world, to organize it. And so what we find is that money is not something that God created, but it's something we created as a way of organizing the world that we live in. So think about it. Money is an organizing principle for the world we live in. It's how we manage societies. So if you go to any society in human history, you will find some form of money. Now, it may not be coins and bills. It may not be electronic balances like we have. But if you go to the ancient world, you would have found a system of exchange. You go to prison, what do you got? Cigarettes, right? So you've got, next time you're there, take some cigarettes with you and see, that'll get you stuff. That'll get you stuff from the outside, okay? So in all societies, there's a way of organizing them in which we can assign values to things, and that's basically the principle of money. The point is that money is something we made. Now, like a lot of things we made, that means money is neither good nor bad. See, many people think we made it, so it must be bad. Well, it's neither good nor bad. It's just neutral. It's neutral. It's like wine, okay? You can have, with a bottle of wine, you can have some friends over and have a celebration in moderation. That's good. That's good. Or you can take it by yourself, drink the whole thing, and be drunk. That's bad. That's evil. But the wine itself is neutral. It's how it's used. Or a camera. Do any of you own one of these cameras? You can use that to take pictures of beautiful things and make art. That's good. You can also use camera to make pornography. That's bad. So the camera is not the issue. It's how we use it. And so it is with money. It's neutral. We made it as a way of organizing the world, and it can be used for good, or it can be used in a fallen way. It can be used redemptively or in a fallen way. It's neutral. Okay? So why is it that Scripture tends to warn us over and over and over again about fallen uses of money? Because we find that over and over throughout human history, no matter what society you go to, money is often something that people are abusing for some ignoble purpose. Ignoble purpose. Okay, here we go. For example, Ecclesiastes chapter 5 says this: "He who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor he who loves wealth with his income. This also is vanity. When goods increase, they increase who eat them, and what advantage has their owner but to see them with his eyes?" Now here's what the author of Ecclesiastes, Solomon, is getting at. Many people try to use money as a means to getting satisfaction and contentment in life. So the mentality goes like this: one day I will finally have enough stuff and I'll be able to go, I finally got everything that I wanted. And Solomon says that doesn't happen. And you know how he knows? Because he tried. And he had more money than any of you will ever have, and more wives than any of you guys will ever have, and threw bigger and badder parties than any of you will ever throw or go to. Some of you are like, you should have seen my 4th of July party. Trust me, Solomon dominated your weak little party. And so he says, he who loves money will not be satisfied with it. And you won't be you'll never get enough. Now, guys, this runs through most of our hearts on a daily basis. I mean, I am constantly prone to thinking, one day I'm going to have enough. I always have like a running list in my mind of stuff that I want. And when I get it, I'm going to be happy. And I always have a list. So the past few days, in preparation for this sermon, I just took notes of every time something that I wanted to buy crossed my mind. Okay? Let me just give you my list. Okay, I got a catalog from a fly fishing company in the mail, and so I wanted some new fishing waders. Those are things you wear to keep you from getting wet in the water. Some of you aren't fishermen. And then I wanted some new fishing boots. Those are what you put on the waders so you don't fall down when you go into the river. And then I wanted a new fishing vest. That's where you keep all the gear and the tools that you collect so you can fish. So I want a new fishing waders, new fishing boots, new fishing vest. Okay, then I went to the Cherry Creek Arts Festival last week, and now I want pictures on my walls. I don't have any pictures on my walls at all. If you come over, my walls are bare, okay? I can't hardly furnish my place, so I haven't put any pictures up. So I really want pictures on my walls. And I've got the shin splint, so I want some new running shoes. And I'm going to a baseball game next week, and I want the best tickets that I can get. And you know what I really want is one of those juicers, because I've started trying to live healthy, and so I want to be able to take like tomatoes. I don't like them, but I want to be able to drink the juice, and I want to be able to juice the carrots and juice the oranges. I'd like a juicer. And I'd like to put more money into my Roth IRA, because I don't think I'm doing a good enough job of that right now. And I'd like one more of these little Lacoste shirts. Now that's just stuff. It's all I wear. It's all I wear. I have 5 of them. I'd like to have maybe just get 2 more, to have one for every day of the week, okay? As it is, 2 of them have to get worn twice a week, okay? Now, so here's the point, guys. I made that list in a couple of days, and that's not because I was trying to make a list. That's because I was just keeping track of the thoughts in my mind of whenever it hit me, maybe I should look into this or to this. Now, there's a tendency to think, you know what, if I just had enough to get all of this, I would be done. But here's what I'll tell you, after years and years of trying, that doesn't work. I'm never satisfied. As soon as I check one thing off this list, I begin adding other things to the list. So Jesus told a parable in Luke chapter 12. It went something like this. As he was as he was teaching a crowd, verse 13 of Luke chapter 12, someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." This is how people treat Jesus. We come to him and say, "Jesus, do what I want." So here it is, "Jesus, here's what I want. My brother got an inheritance from our dad. I'd like him to split it with me. Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." But he said to him, "Man, who made me judge or arbitrator over you?" And he said to them, now to his disciples, "Take care and be on guard against all covetousness." Covetousness is just what I was describing to you. Constantly having the list of stuff that you want, thinking that when you reach that, you'll be happy. Be on guard against all covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. And he told them a parable. The land of a rich man produced plentifully, and he thought to himself, "What shall I do, for I have nowhere to store my crops?" And he said, "I'll do this. I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and there I will store all my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry." Now, can I just make an observation? This guy achieved what we tend to think is impossible, right? I mean, he arrived, guys. If you watch the retirement commercials on TV, they always picture old people who are living a life of leisure. They're on their yacht sailing, or they're out in the lawn playing croquet, or they're tossing frisbees to their grandchildren, and they're always happy and bouncy because they have what? They have retirement, plenty of retirement saved up. And then, incidentally, the same things are used on the Cialis and Viagra commercials. So retirement and Cialis and Viagra, you get those and you're happy, right? You're happy and life is just joyful. I mean, you're always just smiling. Your teeth are perfectly white, and you have grandkids running around, and you have a yacht, and you get to play croquet and golf, and it's just a great time. All because when you were my age, you began saving for retirement, and you got to 65 and you made it, and you had ample goods laid up for yourself, and so now you can relax, eat, drink, and be merry. Oh, man, what a life. But God said to him, "You fool, this night your soul is required of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So is the one who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God." And what Jesus is getting at here is that even if you can make it to the point where you have enough and your list is checked off and you don't even have to work anymore, and you have a yacht and you got a golfing buddies and you got a home on the golf course and grandkids all the time, and that's it, life's wonderful. That itself is going to come to an end. That's not the end of the story, but you're living like it is. You're living like that's going to go on forever. That's going to go on for maybe 10 years. And then what? And then what? So here it is, guys. What's the thread that runs through all of that? I can get enough. I can be satisfied. Money is for the purpose of meeting all my desires. Money is for just storing up so I can one day relax. What's the thread running through all of that? The thread running through all of that is that it's short-sighted. It lives for now. It just takes money and uses it for now and, say, the next 30 years. And that's all it does. Now, that is a fallen view of money, because the story of redemption tells us that history is going to go on much longer than that, and we are going to be in it. And so if we're going to be in it, why would we just want to use our money for the next 30 years? I mean, you're going to have to use some money for the next 30 years. You're going to have to eat, and you're going to have to have shelter, and there are some things you'll need to spend money on. But why would you just want to use it for the next 30 years? That is a short-sighted view of money. And so a few chapters later in Luke 16, Jesus told another parable which shows us a redeemed view of how we should use our money. It's a strange parable. But it's got a great lesson for us. Luke chapter 16, verse 1. He also said to his disciples, there was a rich man who had a manager. Okay, most of you don't understand this, but some people have so much money that they have other people that just keep track of their money. And they just manage their stuff and manage their affairs, okay? So there was a rich man who had a manager. He had a personal assistant. And charges were brought against him, the manager, that this man was wasting his possessions. And he called him and said to him, what is this that I hear about you? Turn in an account of your management, for you can no longer be manager. So this guy gets fired. So he is squandering his boss's money. His boss hears about it, calls him in and says, give me an account of everything you've done, and then you're done. Once you kind of wrap up business, wrap it up, and then you're done. You're no longer going to be my manager. And the manager said to himself, I love this. What shall I do, since my master is taking the management away from me? I'm not strong enough to dig, and I'm ashamed to beg. Now, I don't know what you know about accountants, but let me tell you one. So I was one, okay? So accountants are typically hasty, spindly people. That they are not, they can't beat anybody up, much less work with their hands, okay? Like do manual labor. There's a reason we're accountants. We would not survive if we had to work outside, okay? So this man says basically, I'm an accountant. I can't do manual labor. I'm not strong enough to dig. I've been sitting in a cubicle for 20 years. If you put a shovel in my hand and put me on a construction crew, I would wear out. Okay, so I'm not strong enough to dig, and I'm ashamed to beg. So what am I going to do? Because I'm getting fired. I've decided what to do, so that when I'm removed from management, people may receive me into their houses. So summoning his master's debtors one by one, he said to the first, how much do you owe my master? He said, 100 measures of oil. And he said to him, take your bill and sit down and quickly write 50. You see what's going on here? He brings in someone who owes his boss money, and he says, I tell you what we'll do. We'll cut that in half. We'll cut that in half. Can you imagine the guy going, really? He goes, yeah, man, we'll cut it in half. The guy's like, hey, thanks. Thanks a lot. I tell you what, if there's ever anything I can do for you, let me know. He's like, oh, okay, I will. And then he said to another, how much do you owe? He said 100 measures of wheat. That was several years' wages. This guy is deep in the hole. He said to him, take your bill and write 80. Oh, you're just going to knock 20 measures off? Yeah, just take it. Thanks, man. Thanks. I mean, dude, if there's ever anything I can do for you, let me know. The master commended the dishonest manager for his shrewdness. For the sons of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own generation than the sons of light. Now, what's going on here? This guy is going, you know what? I'm getting ready to lose my job. I don't want to have to work with my hands. I don't want to have to beg for money. So I've got a little bit of time left, and I've got a little bit of opportunity, and I want to leverage my time and my opportunity so that when I'm done working, people will like me and take care of me. So he said, I've got a little time left and a little opportunity because I still manage for the next few days. I still manage my owner's affairs. So how can I take my little time, my few days left, and the little opportunity that he's given me, and how can I make sure that when I'm out of work next week, people will like me and take care of me? I tell you what I'll do. I will forgive half of their debt, and they'll like me. And they might even take me in. I can go knock on that man's door and say, yeah, hey, remember when I knocked your bill in half last week? Well, I kind of need a place to crash. The master commended him for his shrewdness. Now, this is not saying he's like, oh, well, I'm glad you robbed me of money. But he's going, you know what? I got to admit, that was pretty smart. That was pretty smart of you. Pretty shrewd of you to take a little bit of time and a little bit of opportunity and leverage it for your future. That was pretty smart of you. And Jesus said, the sons of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own generation than the sons of light. Meaning, Christians are often not very shrewd in how they deal with money. And so he said to his disciples, I tell you, make friends for yourselves by means of unrighteous wealth, so that when it fails, they may receive you into eternal dwellings. What is he talking about? What is he talking about? Well, when he talks about unrighteous wealth, he's not meaning dirty, stolen money. So he's not saying, on the way out, put your hand in the offering basket, take whatever comes, and then go and make friends with it. He's not saying that. He's not saying embezzle money from your boss, then go make friends with it. He's not saying deal drugs and then go make friends with that money. No, by unrighteous wealth, Jesus simply means money that will not last. Money that will not last. He says, make friends with money that will not last, so that when it fails, and how's it going to fail? How is money going to fail you? Well, it's going to disappear. It's just going to go away, right? I mean, have any of you ever just gone, where did it go? Where did it go? Is it ever depressing to anyone else when they do their taxes? Going, I really made that? What did I do with that? Where did it go? So it's going to go away, or you're going to die, right? You're going to die. That's what happened in the last parable he told. The man died, and that money failed him. So that when it fails, they may receive you into eternal dwellings. What's he talking about? He is talking about people that are in the eternal kingdom because of the way you used your money now. Jesus is talking about a view of money that says, I've got a little bit of time and a little bit of opportunity, and I can take this money and use it in a way that helps people go into eternity with me. I've got a little bit of time. God has given me, if I live a normal human life, guys, I'm about half dead. I mean, you would, look at me. I'm just a picture of health. I am about half dead. I have a little bit of time. I have a little bit of time left. And God will give me, in the next 30 years of my life, if I get that many, He'll give me a little bit of money. I've got a little time and a little money, and He wants me to be shrewd about using that in a way that helps people to know Him and to be there in His eternal kingdom with me at the end, so that when I get there, there's people going, you know, the way you used your stuff, the way you used your money, I'm here because of you. That is a redeemed view of money, because it doesn't just say it's for now to help me get however much I want, to help me get satisfaction, to help me get comfort, to help me get security in old age, but it is for using to build into God's eternal kingdom. It's like sending it ahead. And if you use it right, you can send it ahead. So guys, a redeemed view of money doesn't just look at it as what it can do now or what it can do for the next 30 years, but how it can build God's eternal kingdom. So here's the deal. You're all money managers. You are all accountants. I hate to tell you, this is bad news, but you are all accountants. You're all money managers. You've all been given a little bit of time and a little bit of money, and you now need to use it in a way that focuses on eternity, not just on now. And so you're going to have to get a plan. You're going to have to get a plan. I want you to leave today going, I need a plan. If I'm a manager, I need a plan. Now, you guys know that there's only three things you can do with money, right? Only three things. You can spend it, you can save it, or you can give it away. That's all you can do with it, right? You can spend it. You can buy stuff with it. You can save it. You can put it back for later to buy stuff. You might even invest it so that you have more later. Or you can give it away so other people can use it. That's all you can do with it. And you need a plan for how you're going to spend, how you're going to save, and how you're going to invest, or how you're going to give away. And did you know that Scripture speaks to all of those? On spending, for example, it tells us, you know what? It's good to pay your own bills. It's good to provide for yourself. For example, in 1 Thessalonians 4, Paul says, aspire to live quietly and to mind your own affairs and to work with your hands as we instructed you, so that you may live properly before outsiders and be dependent on no one. Paul says it's really good to be dependent on no one. It's really good to pay your own bills. We have a lot of young folks in this church. This is your first principle. Really good to pay your own bills and to live within your means. That's a really good goal. Because of parents and student loans, it's really easy to learn to never pay your own bills and live within your means. I mean, when I was in college, here's kind of how I managed money. My mom would put money, always mom, you wouldn't ask dad. Dad was grumpy, but mom, you would ask for money. Mom would put money in my checking account, and then I would spend it. I would go to Super Walmart. I went to college in Arkansas. There's a social hub of every town in Arkansas called Super Walmart. Everyone is always there. I would go there about every day. I would go to Super Walmart and buy whatever I wanted, not to mention all the good fun I had. And then when I was out, I would call my mom, and I would say, Mom, not Dad. Dad would be furious if he knew what was going on. He was a good money manager. I would call Mom, and I would say, Mom, I'm out. And she would say, okay, I'll put some in there, and it should be in there tomorrow. And I'll say, great. And then I would go, and I would spend it until it would run out, and then I'd go, Mom, I'm out. And so when I got out of college, my parents decided that was not a suitable arrangement anymore, and so I had to learn to pay my own bills. And you know what I came to find out? I couldn't live the lifestyle that I lived in college. I lived a better life in college than I did afterwards because I didn't have an endless supply. And that's where some of you need to start. That's a good use of spending. Some of you need to save. You're like, what's that? Saving is where you don't spend everything you make, but you put some of it back in case you need it later. Proverbs chapter 21 says, in the house of the wise are stores of choice food and oil, but a foolish man devours all he has. What's that talking about? Proverbs is saying, in a house of a wise man is stuff he's saved back in case of lean times. But a fool just eats everything he has. He consumes everything he has. So you guys need to save. You need to start saving a little bit. Even if you're going, I barely have any money. I work at Starbucks. I wait tables. I get that. But you need to start making a practice of saving a little money back. And then you need to give. 2 Corinthians chapter 9, Paul said, whoever sows, he's talking about giving. He says, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. Each one must give as he's decided in his heart, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. God wants you to get to a place where some of your money you give away cheerfully, not going, oh gosh, the offering basket is coming by. Here's a couple of bucks. But where you pray about it and decide and give to His kingdom work cheerfully, gladly. And here's the thing, you should all start with a plan for spending, saving, and giving now, where you are now. Not when you eventually have more money, but now. Jesus said at the end of his parable, he said, one who is faithful in very little is also faithful in much. One who is dishonest in very little is also dishonest in much. And what he's getting at here is it's really not a matter of how much you have. Your use of money will be the same according to where your heart is. According to where your heart is. Whether you have a little or whether you have a lot. If you have a little and you're squandering it all, if you have a lot, you'll just squander a lot. You'll just have more stuff. There is virtually no correlation. There's virtually no correlation between how much money people have and how they use it. Did you know when we were starting this church, I had to raise money. Dave and I had to raise money from people. And did you know that one of the biggest contributions to this church to get us started came from? It came from a friend of mine who was a grad student. He did not come from a wealthy family. He came from a very blue-collar family. He was a grad student. He drove a 15-year-old Jeep. He worked a part-time job in retail at a fly fishing store, which meant he spent most of his paycheck on fly fishing equipment. And suddenly, his dad died. And when his dad died, he got a life insurance settlement. And you know what he did with that life insurance settlement? He said, I have suddenly a little bit of money. And he said, I want to use that to help start a church in Denver. And he wrote a big check to this church from his dad's life insurance settlement, even though he had no money himself. That's a heart orientation. I went and shook down millionaires and didn't get as much money given to this church as a guy who drove a 15-year-old Jeep and made $8 an hour and lived in a little room about 10 feet by 10 feet. He who is faithful in a little will be faithful in much. And so you need a plan for how you're going to redemptively manage your money. Not how you're just going to use it to get as much as you can now. Not how you're just going to store up more and more and more so you'll get to be 65 and you won't have any worries in life. But how you can use it redemptively to provide for your needs now, to save in a reasonable manner, to give toward the work of God's kingdom. You need a plan now, regardless of where you are. So if you want to talk more about that, if you want to think more about that, I would encourage you to get that study guide. This week, if you're on our email list, I'll have some more resources for you. We have people in our church who are good at sitting down with people and helping them make a plan. If you don't know how to make a plan, I can get you connected with someone who can. But you need, for whatever you have now, you need a plan. You need a plan for how you're going to be a manager of it. A manager of it in light of the whole story that God is telling. Not just creation and not just fall, but redemption of the entire world. Now, can you guys imagine what we would do as a church if everybody in our church was asking, how can I best use my money and my stuff to make an impact for eternity? You imagine what we would do. Guys, we would have tons of influence in this, even just the people in this room. We would have tons of influence. And so it starts with each one of us. It starts with each one of us getting a plan. And so take your little bit that you have now and take the little bit of time that you have now and get a plan for how you're going to use it redemptively. And so, Father, we want to, now at the conclusion of this, we want to thank you We want to thank you that you've given us everything we have. Father, you have been faithful. You've been faithful to us. I think how faithful you have been to me over the years, in times when I had more money and in times when I have very little. You have been faithful. We thank you that your story of redemption does not just apply to my soul, does not just apply to my spiritual life, whatever that is. It does not just apply to my personal relationship with Jesus. It applies to every facet of our world, and it applies to my money and my stuff. And so I pray that you would teach us to use it redemptively. I pray you would teach us to plan and to pray and to not just let the world push us along, not just let our wants and our desires and our long list of stuff that we want that I'll never be able to get all of. I pray you won't just let that push us along endlessly, but that we would stop and we would evaluate, we would plan and we would think and we would pray, we would use our money redemptively. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.